There are hedge fund managers making $1 million an hour. You know, it's crazy, right? It's money everywhere. It's money in everything. I want to help you. Start your business today. Come join my royal family. Subscribe to Casino is the name.
Hey, yo, what's going on right now? You're watching Casino is the Name, and in this video, I'm going to talk about real estate versus government contracting. This was actually a request by someone. They wanted me to do a contrast of my experience and what I thought about the difference between the two. All right, this is a very difficult way to do this, right? We all know real estate has probably made the most millionaires out of anything in history. And the reason, one of the main reasons that real estate has made probably some of the most millionaires, probably the most millionaires in history, is because real estate appreciates over time, right? If you buy something after 30 years, it's probably worth 3 times what you paid for it just by holding it and never selling it. Now, that does not mean that it's making you money. It doesn't mean that it's cash flowing, but it is still appreciating. So if you bought something that was 400,000 30 years ago, it's probably worth at least 1.2 million today. So that property would have made you a millionaire by just holding on to it. But that is not necessarily anything that you can live off unless you go and you refinance and pull the money off. Now, if you rent it out, you can probably do some kind of cash flowing. It all depends on what kind of property you end up buying and also even what kind of government contracts you end up getting. All right. So, of course, in my opinion, based off of my history, I will say government contracts is going to trump real estate, but that is kind of depending on the type of real estate or the kind of contracts you're doing, of course. But it's more heavily weighted on the type of real estate you're doing, right? So if you're doing a buy and hold, right, then unfortunately that is considered, well, that's more passive. And we all know that a passive business versus an active business, the active business will typically make more money than a passive business unless you have a very, very large passive business, right? So let's say you bought a house and you're holding on this house and you're renting it out. Let's say you bought this house and you're paying a mortgage on the house of say $1,000, but you can rent it out for $1,300. That particular house rents for $1,300. You paying a mortgage of $1,000, so you're making $300 a month. After 12 months, that's $3,600 a year. Now, out of that $3,600 a year, you may have to replace something, may have a roof mess up at some point in time, plumbing, all sorts of different things. Trust me, I know because I've had all of those types of issues with my rental property, right? Now, my rental property has never allowed me to employ anyone to work for my rental property as far as full-time salary, because my rental property doesn't make enough money for me to do that, right? So let's say you're cash flowing. Now I cash flow about $400 or $500 a year. It's kind of went down under 5 because taxes went up. So let's say about $450 a year a month is what my property cash flows, right? Now, $450 a month is not a lot of money, or you definitely can't pay somebody even minimum wage a full-time salary for even 1 month out of that amount of money, right? So it doesn't make sense to even try to hire anybody because I can't afford it. But it's passive. That's the whole idea and the concept of, say, rental properties. Mainly it's passive. So because it's a passive investment, you're not really looking to gain a lot of money. Now, my first government contract, I was able to pay $68,000 to another contractor to take care of the work, right? So that one contract allowed me to pay somebody else $68,000 to do that work, okay? That's the difference. It created a job, which then also another person came on, so it was 2 people doing that job. It's currently 2 people doing that job. Not me, but 2 other people doing that job. Then we got a new contract, and that new contract was $275,000 over 6 months. That contract is allowing me to bring on, let me see, it's what, 6, 7 people, 7 more people. So currently with my company, I have 9 other people working under those contracts. And like I said, it's a huge difference because it's an active business. Now, if we were talking about flipping houses, then that might be something different. And also, like I said in a previous video, we're waiting on a $500,000 contract right now. That contract would allow me to bring on 6 more people under that contract. So, and we're talking about full-time salaries, you know? So there's a difference, there's a huge difference in getting to a point in your real estate career where you can have, let me see, what, 13, what's 10, let's say 10 to 13 employees, or 10 to 13, for you to employ 10 to 13 people, full-time salaries, you would have to have a pretty robust house flipping, I guess, business going in order to employ that many people at one time. So that's one of the, that's why I'm always, like, I won't say always, but I'm leaning towards, if you're trying to get some money. Now, you can take that money that you make from the government contracts and then go invest in real estate, especially as a hedge against inflation or something like that. But if you were asking me, based off of my experience, and don't get me wrong, I know people who make tons of money in real estate, flipping houses, building houses, and all of that kind of stuff. But for you to go from no money, no loan, no equipment to, or if you do have to pay for some equipment, it's typically going to be very light equipment, you know, to get started, to at least get like low-level, low-hanging fruit government contracts. And those contracts are typically large enough, even a small contract is typically large enough for you to bring on somebody else to hire full-time employees. And that my rental property could not do. My rental property could not do that. I think my payroll currently is between $28,000 and $32,000 a month. So if my payroll is that much a month, then I have to be able to bring in that much money. And I am only, I'm not even a year. I'm not a year into government contracts yet. Imagine if you were starting out your real estate career with no money invested outside of the fact that you started an LLC, no other real money invested, and you just get going and you're able to make, you know, a couple $100,000 or get contracts for a couple $100,000 the first year with no money out of pocket, no real money out of pocket. And not having to wait months and months and months on a remodel or a rehab. Now, is it possible to do some things in real estate where you can be very clever and things like that? Then I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. Just speaking from the passive side, that I know for a fact it's not even a comparison. Now, I do like the real estate to help me protect my taxable income and things like that, you know, to put my money into real estate, to hedge it or whatever, depreciate that asset, all of that kind of stuff over 27 and a half years. I love real estate for that. But as far as me generating money, I would definitely lean towards the government contracting. Anyway, right now you're watching Casino Is a Name. Like, share, comment, and subscribe, man, and we out. Hey, yo, what's going on? Right now you're watching Casino Is a Name, and if you wanted to know how I started my trucking business, I have an ebook called Big Shot, Hot Shot Volume 1, Own Your Trucking Authority. It's a great book, 5-star reviews. The link will be in the description below. Go get that. Yeah.
Beat me up, Scotty. Me up, Scotty.
Me and her together, we just count it up. Money on my mind, I can't get enough. Don't play with my money, you don't want no beef. Cause I come from the bottom, I come from the street. When she first saw me, she said, who is that? silent, he called me a threat. I'm the one that really live with a rap. They ain't never did it, they ain't really trap.
Say you want to be successful. Well, what's stopping you? Can't nothing stop you from being successful except for you. You standing in your own way. I came from the bottom. I ain't know nothing but the grind. You can't tell me nothing about that. I caught the bus at Basin Street Projects in Tallahassee, Florida. You hear me? I used to think $1 million would last me my whole life. I'd have made that and spent that. $1 million ain't enough. There are hedge fund managers making $1 million an hour. You know, it's crazy, right? It's money everywhere. It's money in everything. I want to help you. Start your business today. Come join my royal family. Subscribe to Casino is the name.